I think Raul Rosas Jr. is really raw, and it's what you'd expect to see from a 19-year-old, you know. Fraud checks in the UFC are always bound to happen. Whether it's the guy that really was never that good or the guy that Dana is trying to fast track to the top, they either break your heart or they give you some joy.
Ikram Aliskerov.
So today, me and Lucas are going to be going over some upcoming fraud checks. I personally went with more established fighters, and I think Lucas went with some more prospects. So we're going to have an awesome mix. Lucas, who's your first fighter?
Look, I've been hating on this guy from the beginning. I love the way he looks. You don't know this about me. I wanted him to be my new favorite fighter because I had watched him from early. The person I'm talking about is Shara Bullet. And then I watched him perform against Michelle Olashechuk, if I'm saying that right. I saw him perform and I was like, no, this guy is cooked out of his mind. He cannot be my favorite fighter. Therefore, I am predicting him to get fraud checked by Kevin Holland.
Ooh, I think Shara Bullet is so trash.
His takedown defense is hopping on one leg against the cage and then grabbing the cage.
Like, just wait until he has an actual competent referee reffing one of his matches that's not like an early prelim, and then they're like, yeah, bro, you can't grab the cage, I'll fight.
That's not in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. Like, there are so many holes in his game. Like, we have done quite a few videos regarding UFC prospects, and he is always at the bottom of these lists, you know, because the holes are just huge. And who knows, maybe this ugly ginger boy will come out here and prove us wrong and fraud check us.
Yeah, maybe.
But the holes, you can't look past them.
Yeah.
And he can't even see them.
I like what you did there. Okay, shut up. Who's your first person?
My first person is someone who has come from a different division and is now making his way up in a new division. I have Figgy getting fraud checked by Petr Yan.
Jeez, a champion getting fraud checked. Never heard of that.
Okay, it's different though, because he's on this little resurgence in bantamweight, and you know, he beat Cody and now he beat Cheeto, and I think both those guys are definitely overrated. I don't think Cheeto is really that good, and Figgy did a pretty good job, but coming up against Petr Yan, like an elite bantamweight striker, we're really going to see if Figgy's power and his striking can keep up with these top bantamweights.
That's fair. I'll let you get away with that one for now. Because, yeah, I don't think he can beat... Early prediction, I don't think he beats Yan.
Yeah.
It's a brutal matchup for anyone.
So if Figgy comes out here and in this 5-round fight loses 49-46 and just gets completely outstruck by Petr Yan, where does Figgy go from there is the thing too. Like,
back down to flyweight, my boy.
Yeah, there's really nothing else for him.
Go take that title, please.
All right, who do you got next, Lucas?
For my next one? Okay, hear me out. We saw this man perform miserably at the Sphere. Look, he still got the win. He still won 2 rounds, but he was facing not a very high-level fighter. And this guy wants to retire by the time he's 25 and become the youngest UFC champion. Not going to happen, buddy. I'm talking about Raul Rosas Jr., one of the most hyped prospects right now. He is not beating Jose Aldo. He is going to fight Jose Aldo. Ooh. It's 2 big names, huge name value. It could be the opener of a pay-per-view card, or it could be the featured of a really big pay-per-view card, featured prelim. But I think a perfect matchup for him that the UFC would want to do is someone like Jose Aldo, who has huge name value, and he's obviously quite past his prime. We've seen them feed him prospects before, and he has fraud checked people.
All of them. Yeah. They're like, Aldo, please just lose one. We're trying to put this guy up there. Nope.
Exactly. So I think that if he actually goes out there and tries, because sometimes it feels like he's just kind of putting in half effort.
Chewie!
Yeah, if we see...
That was a little delayed. I feel like I should have gotten a Chewie in there.
If we see Jose Aldo go out there at full steam, I think he definitely beats Raul Rosas Jr.
Yeah.
If he's still fighting by the time.
I think Raul Rosas Jr. is really raw, and it's what you'd expect to see from a 19-year-old, you know.
At least he's over it. At least he's of age being raw.
All right, next person.
Yeah, who do you got?
My next person is someone who's only had 2 fights inside of the UFC, and what I've seen from him, I haven't loved compared to what we saw from him in his past promotion. I have MVP getting fraud checked by Carlos Prates.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not super impressed with MVP. It was good that he won against Kevin Holland. That was a solid win. But I just think his style, it does not translate well against someone who's a mixed martial artist.
Yeah. I think with MVP, we're really never going to see him get to a point where he's going to be in the top of welterweight, especially given his age.
100%.
He's going to hang out in that 13 to 8 or 9 range. And you know what? He's going to have some amazing fights. Don't get me wrong. I just don't ever see him getting to a point where he's going to be able to compete with the top guys of welterweight. I just think that his defense is just so poor. Like, imagine you had MVP versus JDM.
I mean, I know that's a easy fight for JDM.
Yeah, like that's punching bag, you know? And he is funky, but he's just not legit. You know, I think the UFC is going to be a little bit disappointed in what they got from MVP. Super hyped up coming into the UFC, comes in at 299, 300.
Yeah, 299.
299. Looked good against Kevin Holland. I wouldn't say looked great. And then comes in against Ian Gary, and he just looked a little bit flat, you know?
It's tough because Ian Gary just executed his game plan, which was boring. MVP turned Ian Gary into a wrestler, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. But I agree with you. It's not MVP's fault. The UFC signed him too late.
Yeah.
They waited too long. Why would you wait till someone who relies on fast twitch muscles till they're 37 to bring them into the top promotion? That makes no sense to me. Okay, for my next person, I'm going with Mauricio Ruffy.
Ooh.
This guy is the Brazilian McGregor. I love that comparison. He has power in his hands, but at the same time, if he does not land that punch, that knockout punch, there's potential for him to be dominated by a wrestler like Gamrot. Gamrot might be fraud checking this guy.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, and just like ruining our hopes because this guy, oh my goodness, his fights are so fun to watch, but we might see Gamrot just lay on him for 3 rounds.
Or like even if he gets past like Gamrot, there's some elite grapplers at the top of lightweight.
Well, yeah, it's just going to be like Khabib and Conor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All right. My next fighter I have is Movsar Evloev is going to get fraud checked by someone at the top of featherweight. Ideally, Diego Lopes on a full camp fight. I don't think that Evloev's fight's going to get rebooked. I think he's just going to scrap it. And we're going to see a full camp and Lopes in about 4 or 5 months, him versus Evloev.
Dude, I'm scared. I do not want to see Diego Lopes lose against that decision merchant.
He's not. Because the second that Evloev loses that 0, he really loses a lot of what the UFC could see in him because he's boring. The UFC is not going to want to push a guy that they cannot stand, who's just going out there for a decision. So the second he loses that 0, he's no longer perfect, and he's just going to slowly just hang out there, you know? And I don't think he's as good as the guys at the top. He surely loses to Ilya. I think the striking that you have from Max and Volk loses to both of them too.
Let me say something before you guys go in the comments and start talking about how we're casuals because we hate on wrestling and hate on grapplers. Look, go back and look at his resume and his record. I'm telling you, this guy has not won anything but a decision for like the last 5 to 7 fights. I researched it for a video a while ago. I forget the exact numbers right now, but just go look for yourself, please. And you'll understand why we don't want this guy to be a champion. That is like the UFC and the fans' worst nightmare.
Yeah. So you see a guy like Diego Lopes who really underrated jiu-jitsu. You know, like it's not the thing that you think about first with Diego Lopes, but he's so scrappy. So I think he's got the perfect, you know, combination of everything to go out there and beat Evloev. And it was a close enough fight.
Oh, yeah.
When they fought, and that was on short notice. And I think Diego Lopes has just gotten drastically better since that fight. So I think Lopes is going to fraud check Evloev.
Well, I think we've seen what a full camp does for Lopes. We saw him come up on short notice against Brian Ortega, and then it switched to Dan Ige, and he didn't look strong in that 3rd round. We saw him come up on short notice against Movsar. He did gas out after going for so many submission attempts, which respect, you got to go for them.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think Movsar doesn't ever become champion.
All right, who's your next person?
My next person is going to be someone that you really like, Michel Pereira by Paulo Costa. Dude, what are you doing?
No. Paulo Costa.
Yes.
Pink tip.
Only OG Dodson Corner subscribers are gonna know what you're talking about.
Okay, that's actually the worst take you ever had.
Okay, wow. You have not watched a lot of Paulo Costa fights, I can imagine. But he's lost against Whitaker and he's lost against Strickland. Those are two of the highest level people in middleweight right now. If you go against someone like Michel Pereira, who sure has, he can have weird things happen in a fight. He can land a flying knee. He can land a backflip on your head, which is illegal. I'm gonna put that out there. It was illegal. But still, I think Paulo Costa has fundamental skills that can beat Michel Pereira. He has experience in 5-round fights. He just has overall, I think, a better chance at winning.
That is horrible. Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dude, Michel Pereira has not fought the best of competition, and he's also lost against bad people.
That just hurts. Like, let's just move on. You know what? No. My next one's probably going to piss you off, okay?
Okay.
Kyle Borralho is getting fraud checked by Izzy.
Go for it.
You glazing the fighting nerds all the time. Like, guess what? Borralho ain't that good. Okay. Dude, don't play defense. All offense.
That's right. Now he just needs to take Izzy to the ground, and Izzy's cooked. All right. I could see it for sure. Izzy winning, but at the same time, Izzy's been submitted by DDP now. Maybe we've seen a little bit more flaws in his game. He was rocked before that, so I wouldn't say it's like easy to get Izzy down. But Kyle has good training partners with the fighting nerds. We hype them up a lot. But yeah, Izzy's a tough fight for any middleweight right now.
And I just think the amount of damage that he took from Cannonier is like, this kind of damage that he's taking is not sustainable over a 2 to 3 fight run on his way to the top, because you're bound to take so much damage that you're just going to get to a point where it's going to take one big punch and you're just kind of build up.
Yeah, he does leave himself open for those big punches, especially from someone who's a sharpshooter like Izzy. All right, let's move on. My last person is going to be Kai Asakura by Chito Vera. This one is a little bit of a crazy shout because Kai Asakura hasn't even fought in the UFC now. He's a Ryzen champion, and he has some cool fights in Ryzen. He has a lot of KO wins and a couple submission wins. But someone like Chito Vera, we have seen, this dude does not get KO'd. He will not go down against Sean O'Malley. He only got knocked down by Figgy. Before that, never been knocked down. So I think if Kai Asakura, yeah, I'm saying that right. If he goes in there and he gets, if he tries to strike with Chito and he's not able to put him out, if it's a 5-round co-main, because they're trying to push this guy, it could start to turn around for Chito in the later rounds. And again, this guy isn't necessarily a fraud in the first place because he's been a champion in another division. But I think we have seen other people come from different organizations like MVP, and you realize that the UFC is a different caliber. They got the best fighters, most of them.
I'm sorry, I'm still just hung up on the Michel Pereira getting fraud checked by Paulo. That's my worst nightmare.
You hate Paulo Costa.
Dude, terrible. Oh, he sucks.
Okay. I want to see what the comments think. Let me know what you guys think about Dylan's take on Paulo Costa. Who wins, Michel Pereira or Paulo Costa? We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
I had one more.
Oh. Well, kill yourself.
You just stole my line, too.
All right, I just tried to do the outro on Dylan, but he still had another pick. So, Dylan, who's your last pick?
Khalil Roundtree, on his 5-fight win streak, is coming in to UFC 307 and is going to get KO'd in about a minute. Just people, I don't know why people are trying to build this narrative that there's even really a chance
it's going to be close
for Khalil Roundtree. Yeah. It's probably just so that not everyone's thinking it's going to be completely one-sided, but it is a championship fight. Anything can happen, but Khalil Roundtree's best win is Anthony Smith, and you were coming in here against Alex Pereira, who has just handily dominated the top of light heavyweight. You know, you put Yuri and Anthony Smith into a ring, and Yuri destroys Anthony Smith, and Pereira has dominated Yuri. Yep. It's as simple as that. Roundtree really has very little chance.
The caliber of fighters is just on a different level. I think it's the biggest step up in competition that we've seen in a long time. And I think that people who are picking Khalil Roundtree like Michael Bisping, the worst, bro. That's so dumb. Or is it Chael Sonnen? I get them mixed up all the time. It's one of them. I think they're doing it for the UFC so that the betting odds aren't minus 10,000 for Alex Pereira. There's no universe that I see him losing in.
If he loses, we might end this podcast.
We'll delete the channel.
Like
that's a Dodson guarantee. We'll delete the channel. No, I'm kidding.
But we will have like a day of mourning after.
Yeah.
Khalil Roundtree is the champion? What? I love Khalil Roundtree. I love everything that he stands for, but no.
I'll kill myself.
Like, I'm like thinking, like, I'm in a terrible mood. Like, imagine Pereira, both Pereiras losing. Oh, that's going to do it. Let's wrap it up. Wrap up.
Always wrap up. All right. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Let's.
Bye.
Peace.